He was brought about halfway into the alley before the hand let go. Immediately turning around, he gave a low growl and placed a hand on the hilt of his sword. Something similar happened the first time he arrived in Ranson. Expecting to see some nasty thugs, Konoe glared ahead, and his heart stopped at the figure standing there. There was no way. Yo, sensitive kitty. What stuck out from the top of that head that laughed fearlessly at him were horns. Oh. The devil, who surely had been erased by leaks in the field of four colors, Verge, now stood before him. Konoe strained his eyes for a moment, wondering if this was a dream. This is no dream. They're all here. A voice answered as if it had read Konoe's mind. Several presences flickered in the darkness of the alley, and after Verge appeared, Raziel, Froud, Kultz followed before long. All of you? Konoe was horrified and took a step back. Could this also have been part of Leek's plot? However, Froud laughed off his doubts. You seem surprised. You thought Leeks killed us back then. He definitely killed something. Our power. Power? He robbed us of most of our magical powers. Now we can only use them to about a third of their original extent. He robbed us of our dignity as devils. That bastard sorcerer. He didn't understand the situation. Forgetting to even blink, Konoe desperately tried to get his halted thoughts moving again. As a result, some unexpected words passed his lips when he finally began to piece things together. That's a lie. Huh? Verge frowned unnaturally and leaned down, bringing his face close. What's supposed to be a lie, huh? Isn't this one of Leek's traps? Hey. Verge straightened up with a sigh, smacking a hand to his forehead in disbelief. Jesus. Just like I thought, you cats are just like the toucan god you worship. You decide things are good or evil without even being sure about it, and we end up as the victims. And you can lie with a straight face. After what he's been put through, it probably can't be helped that he sees us as bad. Believing us so suddenly is impossible. How kind of you, Mr. Kultz. Kultz and Verge glared at each other, and Froud raised both hands to their shoulders and breathed a sigh. Stop that, you two. Kitty's afraid, isn't he? Shut up. I didn't even want to work with you guys. What was that voice? Shut up. I didn't even want to work with you fuckers. Fuck. Yeah, let's just go with it. Then, Raziel calmly held out his hand, stopping Verge's words. He seemed dissatisfied with Verge, who clicked his tongue but turned his face away and fell silent. Raziel turned to Konoe, bent down, and looked at his face. Konoe was pierced by those bewitching eyes and could not move. You're probably surprised. There's something you want to ask, no? Urged by that calm, low tone, his halted thoughts began turning again, stealing his nerves. Konoe put a hand on the hilt of his sword and inclined his head up, glaring at the devils. Sweat formed in the palms of his hands. Backed up to a cliff, that was how he felt. You say this isn't one of Leek's traps, but why aren't you guys dead then? He likely only wanted our power. We weren't on good terms with Leeks to begin with. Huh? He involuntarily asked again. Our interests coincide, so we temporarily work together. We're under no obligation to him. But if that's the case... Konaway still didn't understand why they hadn't been erased. Proud, who was posed on the wall with crossed arms, slowly formed a smile on his lips. But if we live, it's of great benefit to Leeks. What do you mean? It's like this. Verge extended his arms and forcibly pulled Konaway towards him. At once he drew his sword and thrust it at the devil's throat. Let go! I don't think so. Not affected by the blade pressed against his throat, Verge buried his face into Konaway's hair. Oh, daddy. He stuck out his tongue and licked his ear. Oh, sensitive. Let's not get ahead of ourselves. Yeah. As the arms embracing his body relaxed, Konaway jumped back by thrusting away from Verge. His subsided caution swelled up again, and Konaway drew his sword and growled. The nasty, damp sensation still lingered on his ear, so he rubbed it several times with the back of his hand. He's mad. In short, we've been aiming for you from the start. They were aiming for him. That reminded him. Verge had called him prey before. Kultz frowned and opened his mouth with a reluctant expression. You are essentially like a source of food to us. Consuming you grants us strength. So the True Blood Twilight sort of protagonist relationship where everyone wants to eat you. I see. Food? Why me? We govern emotions. Consuming a soul with incredible emotions bestows us the finest power. In rare cases, one with such a soul appears. A soul with incredible emotion? The nature and effect of his empathy came to mind. We're always looking for it, but this time, Leeks reached out to us directly. There was a top-quality meal to be eaten, and so we were called. By Leeks. Why? It was like Leeks had already known everything about him. Questions swirled around Konaway like a black maelstrom. It seems that somehow you got in Leeks' way. We wanted to let us eat you. He wanted to let us eat you. So we fought for him. The snakes inside you are a part of us. The markings that emerged on your body were our scales, seals, words. Startled, Konaway looked down at his arms. Those vaporized black markings were the same as the ones carved into the 4 rocks in that place. The place where the devils were born. When you controlled your emotions and never let your soul drown, that was your victory. All of us were beautifully defeated. Apparently, both you and Leeks were owners of souls stronger than we expected. Proud shrugged his shoulders with a playful tone, his expression turning. But if that was the case, Konoe lifted his face. Was it your fault that my ears and tails turned black? That would be wrong. However, your body may have reacted to our influence. Because you matched the curse from the prophecy, right? Like it was predicted. What if you really are like that after all? Verge laughed, smirking happily. At any rate, we lost to you, and Leeks broke his contract with us. Hence, we were robbed of our power. This is the part you never heard. Well, that's that. Since we lost our power, your existence looks all the more appetizing to us. To be eaten? Konoe's body filled with fighting spirit, and he bared his fangs while growling. Don't be so guarded. For now, we're still at a temporary truce. Truce? You only have one soul. It hasn't yet been decided who will take it. Since we don't have our power, the only way we can get you is to devour you from head to toe. So everyone has to decide to stick together to make sure no one steals you away. What? Everybody will stick together. Unable to understand, Konoe stared at the devils before him in mute amazement. The words circulating in his head sank in little by little. At the same time, he succumbed to an intense anger. In doing so, we can all keep an eye on each other. Wait a second. I don't plan on letting you eat me. The wishes of the prey don't matter. It's a life or death issue for us. Hey, don't get so heated. First... Hey! Konoe! Interrupting Froud's words, two familiar voices burst out suddenly from behind him. Konoe turned around. Rei and Asato stood at the entrance of the alleyway facing the streets, their expressions stiff. Rei immediately set his jaw and drew his sword, advancing quickly with a sharp light in his eyes. Asato also grabbed the hilt of his sword and followed after. Huh? Hey, wait a second. Right now, we and this cat are... Shut up! Get the fuck away from him! We haven't done anything to him. Didn't Leeks kill you guys? That's what we're explaining to this kid. It's pointless. You're pawns of Leeks after all. Damn it. That's why I hate cats. Hey, Pipsqueak. Verge frustratedly clapped the air, then lowered his gaze to Konoe. Not Pipsqueak, it's Konoe. You look like a pipsqueak to me, but that's not the point. Listen, I told you this a while ago. Telling lies is what your kind and toucans do. But we don't tell lies. Never. We're faithful to our desires. Even if it is something evil, we do what we please. Therefore, we can't deceive you. This conversation was entirely true. So, you're going to eat me? Eat? His large tail lashing, Asato glared at the devils and growled. I tried to tell you and was interrupted. I'd like it if you'd listen until the end. Froud cocked his head and moved as if throwing a fleeting glance in Ray's direction. Since his eyes were hidden, it wasn't clear. There's no reason to listen. It's pointless. Ray gazed intently at Froud, still holding his sword. Honestly, Konoe was at a loss. He didn't know if what the devils were saying was true, but it might have been worse to doubt them. It was a state of uncertainty he could hardly believe. He thought of saying that he'd listen to the devil's story just to hear them out. He could still fight them if he didn't trust them. Talk! Ray gave him a look, but Konoe daringly pretended not to notice. Froud opened both arms and put one hand to his chest, then slowly gave a deep bow. I'm honored to have your permission. So, I'll continue. First of all, can conclude that we want to do... We too want to defeat Leaks. Of course, we need to regain the power he stole from us. So, I have only one suggestion. If it's not too much trouble, why don't we join forces? Ray's ears twitched slightly. What does that mean? You are pursuing Leaks as well. We mean that we should cooperate for our mutual interests. It'd be more efficient to work together in a temporary truce. Don't fuck around. Currently, Leaks has stolen our power. We are unarmed, so to speak. If you were to fight us now, this would be the golden opportunity. Yeah. At Raziel's words, the air surrounding Ray shifted slightly. He'd been virtually asked if he intended to fight an unarmed opponent. As one who put himself into fighting so much, Ray's pride wouldn't permit it. All the more if the opponents were normally stronger than him. He didn't know if Raziel had made that remark because he picked up on it. We'll defeat Leaks and regain our powers. Our own quarrel can wait until afterwards. There's no proof of that this isn't a trap. Ugh, trap. Evidence. What kind of shit is that? Then what do you plan to do, huh? Hello there. Calm down. Verge, who'd been stamping his foot on the ground, settled down, and Froud turned around towards Ray. A truly cold smile formed on his lips. It's good to be prudent, but doing it to the extremes will prove counterproductive. You, such a cautious nature makes me suspicious that there's something more to it. Ray's tail twitched slightly. For an instant, a shadow of doubt crossed his blue eye. What do you want to say? I'm saying that sometimes you'll need courage to jump into the flames. Well, let's put aside our shame and show you some evidence. Froud looked aside at Verge and snapped his fingers. Verge made a face as if he wanted to die. Ugh, me? Why me? Fuck no, you do it. But I hate that. Huh? What's that? Don't be selfish, you bastard. Then Kultz or Raziel should do it. Verge turned around. Kultz closed his eyes and averted his face, and Raziel inclined his head to Verge, shaking his head. In response to those gestures, Froud amusingly looked to Verge. And so? I get it. I'll do it, alright? Partially in despair, the sulking Verge took a step forward and touched one hand to his chest. His fingertips fused to his chest, as if melting in, and sank below the surface of his skin. Konaway hardly believed what he was seeing when the fingers penetrated into Verge's body. Ugh. Verge's face contorted painfully. His hand completely plunged into his chest, then pulled it back out with the horrid sound of tearing flesh. The hand wasn't wet with blood, but it was holding something. The palm of his hand opened. A sphere emitting yellow light appeared. No, it wasn't a sphere. When Konaway took a good look, it was like a distorted piece of something. Ugh.
What do you think this is? Do you know?
Froud's voice bounced. This is the source of our power. To be accurate, it gives us concrete form. Each and every one of us has one, and originally they were spheres.
So, because your power was stolen, the form became distorted?
It shone with a crystal clear light, fascinatingly beautiful.
Its current state is proof we don't have much power. We've shown you our weakness. That's good enough, right?
Oh, Verge spoke brusquely. Its current state is proof we don't have much power. We've shown you our weakness. That's good enough, right? Verge spoke brusquely. He pushed the object that was the source of his power back into the depths of his chest. Froud turned in Ray's direction and crossed his arms. With this, you've got to believe us. Fuck. With this... How many voices am I? I think I've never done 7 voices in a scene before. Fuck my life. It's going better than I thought it would.
With this, you've got to believe us.
Have it your way. Lowering his sword, Ray spat out these words in a low voice. Is this really okay?
I don't know.
Froud looked towards Konaway.
Is this good enough for you, too? You won't eat me until we've defeated leaks, right? I'd like to avoid the primitive method of just devouring you from head to toe. In addition, it's strange for devils to fight if they don't have their powers, right? After we've regained our powers, we'll do it.
Devils don't lie. Could he believe that? Was the conversation itself a lie from the start? The more Konaway thought, the more paranoia amassed, and then a more unpleasant thought crossed his mind. The shaman living in the forest even said that the basis for judging the truth came from within himself. If he kept moving back and forth, he'd surely lose sight of the truth. Once more he asked himself. Their words didn't sound like lies. With that thought in his mind, Konaway raised his head.
Understood. Mission accepted, boss.
When Konaway nodded in careful assent, Froud's smile widened.
Then it's a deal. Until we destroy leaks, you won't eat you. We promise.
Konaway let out the breath he'd been holding. As the air left his chest, he felt a heavy feeling that was neither anger nor vexation. His hands automatically clenched to fists. This strange power. Without this empathy, he wouldn't have been targeted. In his mind, he understood that it was unavoidable, but he couldn't help cursing his birth. But why did Leeks know about him? Why did he incite the demons? The mystery wasn't over, and it just deepened. For now, he thought of only going after Leeks. Conway took a deep breath and changed his attitude, then looked at the devils again. Though they had lost their power, they were originally existences on par with Leeks. Who would have guessed he'd have made a temporary pact with those guys? And of course, he couldn't even imagine what might happen in the future.
What are you guys going to do after this? Oh, you kiddies are staying at an inn, right? Yeah, but...
I guess that's where we're going then, kitty cat.
To the inn?
His eyebrows arched and he responded automatically. There couldn't be a weirder story than devils staying at an inn. I don't know. Sure, we could think of something. 4 boys go to an amusement park. Amusement park has androids with psychic powers, and boy is a clone or something that also has psychic powers, and he fucks himself at some point. There you go. Cults blew a small sigh.
We cannot afford to take our eyes off you.
It'd be troublesome if you went and died before we got the chance to kill you. If you're gone, it's gonna be a problem. Conway glanced up at Ray with a perplexed look, but he only got a cold gaze in return.
What should I do?
I don't know. You decide.
Unlike these earthly creatures, our heads are always horned. Staying at the inn in town seems like fun then, doesn't it?
Seeing Froud practically squirm with excitement, Conway's stare turned blank. It wasn't just the horns growing from their heads that made them different from cats. However, there is like this festival thing going on with everyone dressed up and shit like Halloween. It'll probably be okay. Horns. Conway suddenly thought of something.
First off, do something about your horns and smooth tails. They stand out too much.
Since we're in the middle of the festival right now, we can just say there are costumes.
And when the festival ends?
We'll cross that bridge when we get to it, pussycat. We'll manage somehow.
So then, please guide us to the inn, kitty.
Was it such an unexpected thing for the devils to have lost their power? While he walked around towards the streets and mulled over his unsatisfied thoughts, he suddenly noticed something. There was something strange about cults. His gaze stopped at one point and his eyes widened slightly. For some reason, he was watching Asato. Noticing Cult's gaze, Asato looked uncertain. Cults immediately averted his eyes. Well, this sounds like Ray, so... Hey, stupid cat! Ray stood in line with Conway. Hearing that rude remark, Conway gave Ray a scowl from the corner of his eyes.
What?
I told you not to stray. Despite being a cat, you don't have any sense of direction, do you? Despite being a cat? At Ray's words, Conway felt like his vision grew dark. In a way, it hurt as if he'd been struck. His tail trembled as if he'd received an intense shock.
Oh, the kitty has no sense of direction despite being a cat?
No sense of direction, even though he's a cat. He's directionally challenged. Did he get lost? This is the first I've heard of it. Oh my god. Becoming defeated by the onslaught of remarks, Conway walked back to the inn with lowered ears and a drooping tail. Aw, hun, I'm sorry, Conway. You've become the comedic relief of the group.